Hi FlossTube, it's Christine, aka Calico, and I am so happy to be visiting with you today after what seems like a really long time. Maybe early August? Is that my last video? I could be wrong, I forgot to check. But anyway, I'm here. It is October 11th, and this is probably going to be a short one because I have not been doing much stitching. Yeah, I'm really bummed about that. I'm bummed about that because even though I don't feel like stitching, I don't feel like stitching. It doesn't bother me that I'm not stitching, but what I know ends up happening is that when I do get my stitching bug back, I look back and think of all the time I wasted not stitching because I had so many plans for the fall. This is my favorite time to stitch, my favorite subject to stitch. And I just lost my stitching bug and now I'm hardly stitching at all. So it's going to be short as far as the stitching update goes because I just don't have a lot to show you. But let's get started. I want to say welcome to all my new subscribers. Somebody must have shouted me out or something. If you did, thank you so much because just this past week I got a whole bunch of new subscribers. So hi everybody, I'm happy to have you here visiting my channel today. So anyway, I hope that all of you stitchers out there are getting some fall stitching done because I know it seems like we all just love fall and Halloween. And I had some plans. I could tell you what my plans were just so you can see that I really haven't been doing anything with that. Or I don't know, maybe I won't even mention it. But first things first, I want to give a shout out to two local stitchers, local to Colorado, Jenny and Melissa. Hi gals. I'm sorry it's taken me so long to shout out your new channel because I think you've made 3 videos now. I think 3. I was going to shout you out after your first video, but so I don't know. I always get excited when new Colorado stitchers, you know, that there's more new local Flosstubers. So these 2 gals, I met them both at my stitch-in that I go to. Well, okay, I can't even really say I go to that stitch-in very much. What have I been there twice? Maybe 3 times? It's always on Sundays, the last Sunday of the month, and I never seem to be able to make it there for one reason or another. It's just Sundays aren't good. But I met Melissa and Jenny there, and then I was so excited when they said they were going to start making FlossTube videos. So they are known as K&J Stitches. Is it K&J Stitches or K&J Stitchers? I will put K&J Stitches. So, so yeah, make sure you go check them out and say hey. So yeah, we're getting quite a few FlossTubers now in Colorado. I've mentioned some in my previous one, and there's also a new FlossTuber. And admittedly, I haven't watched her channel yet. I think I may have watched one of her videos. Her channel name is Jenn Crafts, and I actually haven't met her in person either because she, I think, was at, Jen, were you at one of the stitch-ins? I think you might have been at one of the stitch-ins that I didn't go to. Because I haven't been to one. I went to the one in July, and then in August my son was having his 16th birthday on that day, so I didn't go. And then I had every bit of intentions, all the intentions to go to the September one, and then sometime in between the end of August, beginning of September is when I lost my stitching bug, and I wasn't doing any stitching, so I didn't even feel like going to the stitch-in. So, and I'm bummed because apparently, maybe it was the one in August, Julie from Kansas City Girl and Colorado World was there, and I was really excited to meet you, Julie, and I'll catch you at one of them because I don't know how many of them you're going to be going to because, quote unquote, she said Sundays are for football. So I totally get that. I love football too, although she roots for the Kansas City Chiefs. I won't hold that against you, Julie. Even though you're living in Colorado, this is like Bronco territory now, so anyway, that's okay. A little friendly rivalry. I don't have a problem with that. It's always kind of fun. And as a matter of fact, I think you pretty much whooped us in the last game we played against you guys. So, but we won't talk about that. Anyway, I'm not here for football. Here for stitching. But anyway, yeah. So this is going to be a pretty short video. So I will talk just a little bit about the stitching that I've been doing. So you all know that I've been, hold on one second because I always forget to grab this chart. Actually, hold on, it might be right here. It is. I actually remembered to get this out so I could actually show this year-long project that I've been working on by Marjol and Baston. It's called 4 Seasons, and my goal was to get this done this year, and so I still may be able to do that if I can just get to stitching again. Now, I have worked on it a bit since the last video, just because it's been a while since we did an update, and I think that the last time I showed it, I hadn't had the fall section done, I don't believe. So I still needed to stitch this, this, and this. I still had 3 seasons left to do. So let's just get to showing you that. All right, and I have it in the hoop. Well, I'll just show you right now. I'm working on, this is, how does this go? So this right here is the winter corner, and it is, I'm happy to say, the last, oh yeah, I guess I did get a lot done since I last showed this to you. Let me take it out of the hoop so you can see it. So far, yes, I don't think that I had summer done. So, oh, this is a big one. Let's see if I can fit it all in. I'm almost done with this, guys. If I could just get to stitching, I can get this done by the end of the year. So, get spring up here, summer season right there. And then I think mostly since, you know, I may have had this done when I showed it in August. I may have stitched this already, the squirrel. So yeah, maybe what you haven't seen is the summer. You will have seen it on Instagram though, because I did post a picture of it on Instagram. I think that was the last stitching that I've posted on there. So my goal is to work on this, and I've been working just a little bit on that, the winter season, but it's got, you can kind of see it has it's got kind of a lot of detail there with that basket and the 2 birds. So, and for those of you that are new to my channel, there is a stitch along that I'm hosting called it's a Marjol and Baston Sal, and it's hashtag, I'll put it here, hashtag #MBastonSal on Instagram, and you can stitch, it's kind of an ongoing, it was going to start and it was going to be just this year, but it's going to be an ongoing stitch along because I have acquired quite a few of her patterns, and I'm just going to always have one going, and so it's a stitch along that you can jump on anytime. If you have any Marjol and Baston kits, a lot of hers are out of print, but if you keep an eye on eBay, you can usually find them for a pretty good deal. I mean, I think I just saw the 4 Seasons come up for like $19.99. So they go quick. You got to kind of keep an eye on them, but you can usually snag her patterns. The kits are more expensive, but a lot of times you can get just the patterns themselves. So that's what I like to look for. But yeah, if you're stitching one, just do a hashtag #MBastonSal and show your progress. I'd love to see it. I feel like I was going to say something else about that, but I don't remember what it was, so I will, if I think about it, I'll go back to that. I'll revisit that. So my plans for the fall, I wrote these notes back in August, so I've got the Marjol and Baston Sal, which is the ongoing one, and then the Stitchers Coven is a Facebook group hosted by the lovely Amy from Amy DeVille here on FlossTube, and I just was going to shout out her stitch along that she had coming up called the Horoween Sal, but I'm going to put it here because it's the Horoween TSC for the Stitchers Coven Sal. And that started September 1st and goes through November 1st. And it can be anything Halloween related. It doesn't have to be, anything scary. If that's not your thing, it can be fall, whatever you want. So be sure to hop on that Sal if you're not doing that already. But yeah, what is it, October now? I'm sure everybody's probably heard about that by now because it's taken me so long. I did start something for that, and I still haven't even posted it on Instagram. I started this because I saw another FlossTuber, and her name is the Midnight Crafter, and she showed this in one of her videos, and I fell in love with it. I had to go out and buy it. So it's this candelabra, what is it called? It's called Midnight Glow, and it's got the orange candles and they're melting, and it looks really cool on her video, this all stitched up. And I did that, started that, and let me put this behind it so you can kind of see. You can kind of see where I'm at with that. Just did some of the green, some of the purple, didn't get a whole lot done. And I'm going to pause you for just 1 second. Okay, and I haven't even gone to dig out a Halloween or fall needle minder yet. Can you believe that? I have like candy corn. I've got all these fall needle minders that I made, and I'm just using one that happened to be next to me. Sometimes I am such a slacker. So anyway, that's where I've gotten on that. Not very far. I started that right around the beginning of October, or no, maybe it was more like the beginning of September. So didn't get too much done with that. Another plan I was going to do is there's also, I believe it's from the Stitchers Coven. It's called the hashtag Sabbath Sal, and it's the what's it called? The Wiccan. I don't know if they're called holidays. You know, where you sell. You've got like the oh, I'm just drawing a blank on the names. You know, the calendar, the solstices, you know, those. I was going to stitch one of those on each one of the, like the winter solstice and summer solstice, and because those are all free from the primitive hair. And have I stitched any of them? No. The day comes and goes, and then I don't do it. So I didn't do that. I was going to also do the, crafting between stitches and Kim Goldman on Instagram. We're hosting a Jeanette Douglas vintage series Sal, and that started September 1st. I was going to work on vintage animals, and I didn't do that either. So all my failed Sals. Yes, because I lost my stitchy bug. My video cut off, so if I repeat myself, I'll try to edit that out because I don't quite know when it stopped recording or not. But I don't really have too much more to talk about, guys. And I did want to mention, though, that because I've been so busy, and I have a feeling that this, that my next update's probably not going to be until, my next FlossTube update's probably not going to be until the beginning of the year, but you will see me again at the end of the year, because in August I filmed a video of all my finishes that I have ever done up to this date. So I'm just going to pause here and say that I think I'm done talking about stitching. So if you have a next FlossTube you want to move on to, I'm going to probably just be talking about succulents. This little clip I had to add because it's much later in the day, and I was editing my video and realized that I lost a chunk of my video, probably about 5 or 10 minutes, and it wasn't anything important. I was just probably rambling about unimportant things. But anyway, I did mention in there that I was talking about a simmering potpourri, like a stovetop simmering potpourri that I like to make, and I have the footage for that, so I had to pop in here and just film this telling you that. I'm going to add that to the very end of the video. So if you want to forward through all of my plant talk, it's probably like the last 2 or 3 minutes of the video if you want to see how I do my simmering potpourri. So anyway, okay, back to the video. Sometime in, it was either late August or the beginning of September, my local nursery was, they send out this brochure where they have these workshops that you could go to, and one of them was to create a succulent garden. And I've always wanted to create a succulent garden, but I've always been kind of, you know, well, can I keep them alive? I can't keep houseplants alive at all. Yeah, I've had really bad luck keeping houseplants. My son got a succulent called it's a type of a euphorbia about a year ago, and I'll show that. I show that in the clip that I'm going to show about, we had that and we were able to keep it alive, so I thought, well, maybe I can keep some succulents alive. So I went to the workshop, and yeah, it was more just kind of like a make and take. She didn't really give a whole lot of information about the succulents. She just basically said, here's a pot and here's a whole bunch of succulents, and you can just pick and choose the ones you want and you can plant them. and take them home. So I did, and I posted a picture of that on Instagram, and I'll post a picture of that right here. So that was my cute little succulent garden that I made, and I was so excited to take it home. And I thought, gosh, I don't want this to die. So I started watching YouTube videos about succulents, and oh gosh, I think I watched every succulent video out there, and I learned a ton about them. As a matter of fact, I started to kind of learn all their names, and of which I have since forgotten, but I became just obsessed with succulents. So then I ended up going to Home Depot and buying, oh, before that, I guess I should say back in March, I was at the grocery store and I bought a little succulent, and if I have that, I'll put a picture of it here. And now that you've seen that one, I'm going to show a picture of my windowsill, and you will see that little plant that I bought. You'll see it in front. I can't show it now because I don't have it anymore. I sort of dissected it for the sake of science, and I'll explain more about that in my video that I'm going to add on here. But anyway, what ended up happening, you'll see it, the succulents are supposed to sort of stay nice and compact, and I think when they get elongated and stretched out, it means that they don't have enough light. And so in the picture that I'm going to show you, you're going to see there's a little succulent that it's kind of like the leaves are all spread out and it's kind of elongated. And that's the one that in the video, when I show you I take one apart, that's the one I took apart because it was surviving. It just, I don't think was getting enough light for one reason or another. So yeah, I'll put that on. Okay, so here's my kitchen sink, and I apologize that my window's a little bit filthy. But I love this little garden window here because it's perfect for plants, and I don't really have a whole lot of plants. As a matter of fact, this one right here, and I apologize if you hear dripping because I have a leaky faucet that needs to be fixed. So you're probably going to hear that. But this little plant right here, my oldest son, maybe a year ago, bought this, and it was a bit smaller than this. As a matter of fact, we just repotted it. It's a type of a euphorbia, and it was maybe the first, we thought it was a cactus, but I guess it's not really a cactus. But anyway, when we bought that, we really had no idea how to take care of it, and we have, it has actually survived enough to be repotted, and there were a bunch of little babies that grew, and anyway, that's when we kind of thought, oh, maybe we could keep those alive. So anyway, my son has been taking care of that, and it's growing. So anyway, the one that I just showed you a picture of when I took the succulent class, or the succulent garden class, this is how it looks now. It looks a little bit different. I made a couple of changes to it because this one, when I first planted, it was longer, and I cut it off and stuck the top part of it back down into the soil, because apparently when you do that, they just reroot and grow a new plant. And I took off one of the leaves, and when you take off one of the leaves and just leave it there, if you can look, there's not really good lighting, but can you see there's a little baby succulent growing right there out of just the leaf? So these things are, and then it's going to grow into its own plant. So I'm just leaving it there. That's really quite fascinating. I'm just obsessed with succulents now. So I'm going to take you upstairs because I did get myself a little setup with some grow lights because I think they need a little bit more light in the winter. So I don't know. I'm just experimenting. So I'll take you upstairs. Hold on. Okay, I should mention that the window I just showed you is an east-facing window, and now this is upstairs in what used to be sort of the playroom slash junk room, catch-all room slash, was going to clean it out to become my craft room now. So it's the, that spare room. So anyway, this is a west-facing window, and you can see I bought this little, it's like one of those little, what do you call it, bathroom caddies, wire caddies, and I bought one so that I could attach these grow lights to it. And so it does get a little bit of window light, but in the winter I'll probably keep those blinds closed most of the time because this room gets really cold. And this is what I've collected after I got, kind of went down a succulent collecting road. So the lighting is not real great here. But this one here is called Raindrops. It's kind of like String of Pearls, but it's raindrops. And this one, I can't remember what this one's called. I'm not really good at identifying them yet. This one I remember is called a Chocolate Soldier. It's got little kind of brown spots on the tip. And I've repotted them all out of their the little pots that they came in from Home Depot, actually. That's where I got these. And I, just for the sake of science, I took part of my raindrop one back there and I pulled a piece off and I replanted it here just to see if it kind of roots its own plant. And then what we've got going on here is also another science experiment. This was a, what are those called? Echeveria or Echeveria, I don't know how you say that, but this was the top of it. So if you can imagine, you know, this was up on top, and then it had all its leaves going down the side, but it was starting to get really stretched out, sort of like elongated when it doesn't have enough light. So for the sake of science, I pulled all the leaves off of it, because supposedly you cut the top and you stick it down in the soil and it will grow a new plant. And then I think this stem can normally like propagate new growth, but it looks like it's dying. So I either overwatered it or did something with it, so I think that one's going to be failed. But if we go down here real slowly, I'll pan slowly, these are all the leaves that I took off of it. But before I get to that, I just want to show you, this is an ice plant. I pulled a piece off out of my garden just to see if I could grow that inside. And this used to be a flower, and it was actually flowering under these grow lights. These little things right here are leaves that I pulled off. My mom has a Thanksgiving cactus, and I asked her if she could cut some leaves off for me so that I could propagate those. And supposedly you just stick them down in the soil and they start growing right from the leaves. And I did pull them out and see that they have a few tiny bit of roots growing from them. So if those work out, I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, plus right back up here, 5, 6, 7, right in this pot here. I'll have like 7 new Thanksgiving cacti from that. And these here are the leaves that I pulled off of the Echeveria or Echeveria. And if you look, I'm just trying to get a good view of it here. If you look, I'll pull one of these. You can see, let me find my camera here, with the light, that there is a new baby succulent growing right from that leaf. And if you look really closely, you can see that almost all of those leaves right there have little babies growing right from the leaves. So, can you see them right there? How cute? And then these are more from the plant downstairs. So anyway, I have all these leaves that if it works out, are all going to be their own succulents. So yeah, I've just been having fun learning and playing with succulents. So I'll give you an update on those and see how they're coming along. Okay, thanks for watching. And I did want to say too that I'm also having an experiment. My mother-in-law had a philodendron, can't remember how you say that. I think the other name for it is a pothos. I could be wrong about that. I'm trying to learn my plant names. And because she had been in a rehab center for a while after fall that she had, and her plants got neglected, and this plant was like almost completely dead and only had a few leaves left at the end. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to take that as an experiment. I'm going to clip that off and take it home and plant it. And actually, this is part of it, but when you take a philodendron and you put it in water, it doesn't even need any soil, but it starts to grow its own roots again. And so I took 3 clippings that were still somewhat looked like they were alive, and I put them in water, and I ended up having 3 plants that just rooted in the water. And hold on one second. Let me grab this. So this is it. Looks a little, see the soil there. This is one of the 3. I gave one to my neighbor because it was doing so well, and I am able to keep this one alive. So I have this one potted in here, and I had the other one potted in there, but once again, for the sake of science, I took that one and I clipped it into 2 other pieces, and I'm going to propagate a couple other plants from that. And then when these get a little bit, get some roots, I'm going to put them in the pot with the other one. So yeah, I've just been kind of having fun with plants and learning a lot about it. And this is what happens when you really want a dog and your husband doesn't want a dog, and you feel like you want to take care of something. You take care of plants. Okay, I'm going to have to cut this short. We'll end this here because now my phone keeps telling me it's out of storage. If it's not one thing, it's another. I've been getting phone calls and notifications. So I think it's time to wrap this up. I hope that you're all enjoying your fall or spring if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. And I'll be checking in with you in 2019. So yeah, talk to you later, guys. Bye. Okay, I hope this light is good enough. I just brought you over to my stove, and I was just going to show you my mix that I love for potpourri. So I just buy this. This is a little pan that I've got at Walmart. It was like $7.99, and I use it just specifically for potpourri. So I kind of always leave the potpourri that's in here, and I just kind of add to it. So I've just filled that about halfway with water. And what I use, so this is a very low-cost potpourri. Hold on. Okay, so this is my real low-cost potpourri mix that I do. You can do it different ways. So what I'm going to use are some whole cloves, and these I just get at Kroger. So these are, and I get them when they go on sale, so you can, you know, get them for a pretty good deal. Cinnamon sticks, and then I use orange extract, but feel free to use as an alternative fresh oranges and orange rinds, which I've tried, and I actually like this better. It's a little stronger than the actual fresh oranges. And you can also use orange essential oil. But we're talking like this is just inexpensive, and I do it a lot. So, and you know, this works really well. It smells good. So I use mostly these 3. Instead of the cinnamon stick, you can use this. This is cinnamon oil that I ordered online, and this is the really potent, strong stuff. This is the kind that if you stick the toothpicks in it and let them soak it up, that you get the real cinnamon toothpicks like I used to make back in the 70s and 80s, and I used to sell them at school because they're not those really weak ones that you can buy at the grocery store. These are like the real, this is the good stuff, this cinnamon oil. So you could use a drop of this if you really want a strong cinnamon smell, but I find most of the time that just the cinnamon sticks do well. And you can also do an alternative at Christmas time. I take, if you have a real tree, you can get pine needles off your real tree and throw them in there, and even like a bay leaf, and you can use some peppermint oil. So it's just really easy to do. I just fill this pot about halfway with water. I open up my cinnamon sticks and grab a nice good size one, throw that in the water. Take cloves. Now I really like a strong clove smell, so I go a little overboard with the cloves. I'll show you. I put like that much in, like a whole handful of them. Just throw them in. And then this orange extract, when I open it from the store, I don't take that lid all the way off. I just poke sort of a little hole in it, because that way then when you go to pour it in, it's kind of like it's kind of sprinkles instead, like that. So I just put about that much in. You don't need a whole lot. And like I said, if you really want a nice smell, you can also, a nice strong cinnamon smell, just like a drop of this is all you need. And so sometimes I'll do that. And then you put it on the stove, and I don't usually put the lid on. I just put the stove to, I set mine to about medium high. Okay, while we're waiting for that to boil, I just wanted to remind you that it's really important when you do this to not make the mistake that I did on more than one occasion, like 3 or 4, where you forget about it and it's left burning on the stove, and you end up with just a mess of burnt nothingness on the pan. The pan is black, it's smoking, your house reeks like burnt cinnamon, and the pan is pretty much not even salvageable without a lot of work. So anyway, I always, when I get this potpourri going, I usually always use my Alexa or an egg timer or whatever, some timer on your phone, if you know if you're going to be outside, to remind yourself to go add water to it or to turn it off. very important. So that's probably the biggest issue with this, is that it can easily get forgotten about. So, okay, I'll turn you over, and it's starting to come to a boil, so we'll take a look at it, and then that'll be all. So I just keep it kind of at a simmer. That's all you really need to do, and once those smells get going, you'll have a nice aroma of orange and cloves and cinnamon wafting through your house. So give it a try. And just a disclaimer here, this is obviously not my original idea. I did not make this up, and you can Google a gazillion recipes on how to do this, but I love it so much more than candles, because as long as you don't forget about it, I mean, it's much safer, I think, than leaving candles burning, even though I do love candles too. But okay, that's all I got for you now, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.